Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 210 of the TheSixthAxis podcast. As per usual, I am your host, Kris. Joining me this week is teacher extraordinaire Lewis Gaston. You right, Lewis?
I've
been nice to you this week. I called you an extraordinary teacher. I'm a nice man.
You seen me teach?
I don't know. Are you a good teacher? I like to imagine you are.
Yeah.
That's all right then. And also with us this week is everyone's favourite pub landlord. It's Dom Layton. You right, Dom?
Yes.
And travelling salesman.
And travelling salesman, but selling beer, which is like...
Oh, is that what you do? I didn't actually know that's what you did.
Yeah, so I take the beer.
I was going to say, like, not just the people in the street. That's illegal.
What about some beer?
Well, I'm not sure it's illegal.
I don't know, you'd be selling without a licence.
There might be money to be made there.
He's got a licence. He's a landlord. I hope he's got a licence.
Yeah, but they don't... The licence is for the premises. It's not just...
Yeah, just change it. What is your premises? My Ford S...
I can sell it in its container. The problem becomes if I take a pump out of the pub and then
I see.
And carry that around on my back.
The problem comes when the cans have that multi-pack buy sign on it.
Yeah, don't sell them. Yeah. Not allowed.
I'm not accepting this. This is part of a multi-pack.
Has anyone ever really cared about that? I've definitely bought stuff that says multi-pack on it.
It tends to be cheaper if it says multi-pack on it.
Yeah, but it's always from like the dodgy corner shop that's like...
Or the kebab shop.
Yeah, like, something like that.
Do not sell individually.
You know,
just charge me £1.50 for it.
Yeah.
You look at the back of it and then you get to the counter and they give you a bit of a wink.
Don't tell anyone.
No, I've always liked the places you go and it's just not the English version. You go and it's just like Arabic Coke or something like that. It's like that's not even like Latin letters. It's just in Cyrillic or something.
Dr. Pepolsky.
Yeah, exactly. So I was not expecting this.
What's the worst that could happen?
Nothing really.
No.
It's the urine from the dog they used to put on the skewer.
That is the worst that could happen.
Yeah, pretty much. Right, Twitter hellos. Janos, basically, he's always here, isn't he? It's good. I'm glad that he's returned to his tweeting ways.
Yeah.
Either
that or we guilted him into coming back.
Yeah, probably both. Probably just a mixture, really. Right, well, I'm going to do a little bit of foreshadowing for once. On tonight's podcast, we're going to talk about Lego Avengers, about Firewatch, about Unraveled. I'm going to give you a little bit of comic book talk, and we'll hopefully wrap that up with Naruto, whatever the new one is called. What's it called? Dom something Storm? Ninja Storm?
Ultimate Ninja Storm 4.
I feel like you can't have a fourth version of something that's already called Ultimate.
I was going to say, how many of these Ultimate Storms does it take?
Well, Bandai Namco would disagree, for one thing.
It's very similar to the Final Fantasy naming convention, you know. Yeah. Like once you're at Final Fantasy 12, it feels like you're not really committed to this whole final
and the never-ending story.
Yeah, it's just you can't. The never-ending story, like if they just left it at that one movie, it would have been fine. But you're like, you kind of didn't.
Well, no, that's the reverse because it ended. It was like. But then they made like Neverending Story 4.
Well, that's what I mean. Is once you make more Neverending Stories, you're like, I don't believe you anymore.
Yeah,
it's a real shame.
Sebastian would be middle-aged by now.
Yeah,
it's
not good. But
Atreyu would not be able to do the acrobatics he does on Artax. That's for one thing. Artax would be dead.
But before we get to all of that, it is time for the news of the week. News.
News.
So interestingly, this week it was confirmed that there will be no Assassin's Creed game this year. This has been heavily rumoured for a while now, but it was 100% confirmed in a Ubisoft financial briefing phone call thingy.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does anyone give a shit?
I think a lot of people like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, but they've not been great lately, have they? So you think people are probably glad that you're taking some time out to actually just, take a breather.
I don't know. Wasn't the last one supposed to be all right?
Unity was meant to be pretty good. But I do agree with Lewis. Like, they need a break. Like, it's...
Just to make them function properly at launch.
I also think probably just the team deserve a nap.
Yeah.
We've been making this for 10 years.
Yeah. They're probably sat there like completely jaded. I got into games industry because I wanted to make games. I've made 50 million Assassin's Creed.
Constantly making Assassin's Creed. In its place will likely be Watch Dogs 2. We know that's going to be releasing this financial year, but that means it will be before March. It'll be releasing in financial year 2017, I think.
It was Watch Dogs Ubisoft, was it?
Yeah. Which means it will be sometime between this April and next March, basically. But it's probably going to be in that Assassin's Creed slot, realistically, you would imagine. It's going to be in that pre-Christmas slot. I would be surprised if it's not. But that'll be... I'm
quite looking forward to, what's it called? Watch Dogs 2.
Watch Dogs 2.
If for no other reason other than with my motion design graphic thingy hat on, that Watch Dogs had some of the best sort of animations and trailers. They were amazing.
Yeah, that was cool. And also, I think like while the gameplay wasn't good, it had some of that stuff like in world as well, with the way it dealt with like
and it had some good ideas. So I'm hoping that with the sequel they can tie up some of the not so good bits. And
I think they've replaced a climbing to the top of a tower simulator with a modern climbing to the top of a tower simulator.
That's certainly an issue, but I also think what people forget is like, I think people would widely agree the first Watch Dogs was not a good game, but also if you look at the first Assassin's Creed game, that's not particularly good either.
I wouldn't say Watch Dogs was bad though. It was entertaining, and they had, like I say, with the bits where you can control the traffic lights and the grates and stuff like that. That was some quite good stuff there.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is like Assassin's Creed, the first one, is not a bad game, but it's also not like it's not up to the standard that the rest of the series is. And then we get Assassin's Creed 2, which it was a very, very good game in my opinion. And the Ezio games are probably the high point for that series, that trilogy.
And Black Flag.
And Black Flag, that's true. But it would be nice if, like, hopefully Watch Dogs will be the same, where you get that real process of refinement between the first game and the second game. Yeah. And if they can really get that, then it'll be great, and we will see a game that kind of lives up to the promise. Which
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. But I like I say, I think that was, in my opinion, the exact same thing as the first Assassin's Creed game. To the second, it's like the first didn't live up to the promise, and the second really followed through on it and kind of refined everything that you wanted.
I'm probably a bit biased because I do not like Assassin's Creed.
I know, but I mean, I don't like it at this point. I'm kind of a bit like, meh, whatever. But I like the early ones, like the 2, 3, 4, which aren't really that, but like the Ezio trilogy, I really enjoyed. I liked Assassin's Creed 3 than a lot of other people did as well. Like, most people didn't like it, and I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it had its moments.
I just thought it was quite... I think the problem they had with that, and in a way it's a similar problem they had, not an issue they had with Black Flag, but kind of a similar thing in Black Flag is... it's almost like EA with the Need for Speed banner, is that they are putting too many things under the same banner. So, like, I really liked Assassin's Creed 3, but if it hadn't been called Assassin's Creed, I think it would have been a lot better received, because people wouldn't have had the expectation of what it's going to play like.
Yeah.
And I think by the same with Need for Speed is you are putting, like, it's going to be like this kind of stamp on it to an extent. Need for Speed has kind of got past that at this point, because everyone knows that it's just like, this is what we call driving games at EA, because we're not very inventive. And also branding. But yeah, I am looking forward to Watch Dogs 2. Hopefully it will be a good, enjoyable game. And as Lewis says, at least it will have some interesting ideas and some good visuals. Presumably. And also, think about like all the weird shit that was in Watch Dogs, where you had like the giant spider and all that crap. That was awesome.
Oh, that was amazing.
Like the spider tank thing. That was great.
Yeah, Spider Tank was brilliant.
Yeah. Like, people might like...
the stealth bit. I really enjoyed the stealth mode as well.
Yeah, people didn't like the core gameplay, I think, all the time, but a lot of the stuff around the edges of that game was beloved. Like, because it was just absolutely mental.
Yeah.
The bit where it was like a Mario game for a bit,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, see, all that stuff is really cool, and Like, mix that in with some refinements to the core gameplay, and you'd have something really interesting.
See, I think if you took Watchdog as a core sort of base, and then you throw in the story elements and stuff of things like Mr. Robot, throw in a bit of sandboxing like Grand Theft Auto, you could have quite a special thing there.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, we'll find out.
Won't be anything like that. It'll be like Watch Dogs, but a bit shinier.
Yeah. With twice as many traffic lights.
Exactly. And that's what you want.
2 robot spiders.
That'd be pretty great. Moving on. While there will be 0 Assassin's Creed games this year, there will be exactly 1 Street Fighter game this generation. The Street Fighter 5 is going to be it. There will be no super versions and no ultra versions, and instead, Capcom will be continuing to update.
I was going to say, how are Capcom going to make their money if they don't release 15 versions of the same game in 1 month?
But they have said, we've been quite honest in saying that Street Fighter 5, the disc or digital edition, is the only version that you'll ever need, said the superbly beaded brand manager Brian Ayers. Did Tough Cub write this? Tough Cub wrote this.
Yeah. How can you tell?
Yeah. But they basically were saying that they want it to last a whole generation.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good move. And it's kind of... We're at a point where you can pull that off now.
Yeah, well, it's what they've done with Rock Band 4 as well, isn't it? They've said this is a platform that we're just gonna continue to grow and continue to build, and maybe hopefully not make people feel like they've just been ripped off time and time again, which Capcom have been very bad about, especially with Street Fighter. Street Fighter 4 has been stupid. Number of versions and then all the DLC.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it's nice.
I think the interesting thing here is, of course, that Street Fighter 5 is currently exclusive to the PlayStation 4, which means if this is going to be the only Street Fighter game in the generation, is the Xbox One going to get a Street Fighter game?
Well, they've got Killer Instinct.
Yeah. Not quite the same, is it?
No.
Yeah.
The thing
is, I don't like fighting games. I don't think I've liked Street Fighter since one of the originals.
I mean, I like Mortal Kombat and Tekken more, but I do like fighting games.
Tekken's poo. Tekken is poo.
Tekken's great.
Yeah,
it's not awesome. As good. It's not as good as Virtua Fighter. But,
Virtua Fighter's good. Now there's a fighting game.
I mean, obviously, the best fighting game is Soul Calibur, but
it's pretty good.
What about Dead or Alive?
No, Dead or Alive is terrible.
Yeah,
Dead or Alive's all right.
Aren't you a fan of fighting games, Dom?
Yes, I do like fighting games.
I remember having...
I thought you were just going to be like, aren't you a fan of fighting games, Dom? Why don't you like all of them? Why do you like them all, Dom? I thought you liked fighting games.
I do like them, and I've got a Mad Catz TE2 stick and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you'll be glad to know that due to a day one 6 gig patch, your PS3 stick will work with your PS4.
Mine's PS4 stick anyway.
Oh, that's fine then.
I'm all right.
6 gig to make a controller work with something?
That's a lot.
Well, I think it's probably like the generic 6 gig like day one patch. It's not exclusively for controller support.
Oh, I was going to say.
It probably does a bunch of other stuff as well.
Probably.
It would be weird given that I have put controller support in games and it's not that difficult.
I just hope that it all works properly, because the beta test for Street Fighter 5 was a joke, certainly whenever I tried to play it. And yeah, it just didn't work. Full stop.
I think for me, I just don't like online play in fighting games. I'd much rather play with people who are with me.
Okay. Yeah, because at least when you're playing with someone in the room, when they do that annoying thing where they just kick you whilst you're down, at least you can beat the shit out of them in real life.
Well, that was pretty much my thinking, yeah.
If you're playing someone online, you just have to trash something that's near you, which when you've all settled down and the adrenaline's calmed down, you realise it was your property and you think, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just... Bit pointless, really, at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who says video games make you violent?
Lewis.
But I think this is an interesting choice, and it'll be good to see whether or not they really follow through in this and how this like one game for the whole generation thing is received. I think another game that could perhaps follow a similar tact with the way it's being discussed by Square Enix is maybe the new Hitman game. It'll be interesting to see if that lasts a long time and has a very long tail with the episodic way they're building that game out, because if they've kind of built a good core framework that they can just be like, here's new stuff constantly, I think that's a really smart business model.
It could be, or we could hear in 3 years that Capcom lack of DLC income means that they're going under.
That is true.
But only time will tell.
Last bit of news for the week. So, a while ago, Amazon gave Crytek loads of money, but everyone was like, why did that happen? Turns out they just bought CryEngine. Amazon
did?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Amazon own that now. They have turned it into their own engine called Amazon Lumberyard. And it is...
Why?
Because and it's completely free. If you want to use it, it is completely free. The monetization for it comes by, if you want to use any online integration, you have to use their services. So Amazon is a big cloud provider, probably the biggest cloud provider in the world, I think. I think they are still the largest, with probably Google in second place. They're so large that other cloud providers are actually running on Amazon infrastructure, which is quite interesting. Yeah, there are other. They're big enough that they are basically a reseller at this point. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's also, I think they finally announced they were profitable for the first time ever this year, Amazon, and it is because of their AWS infrastructure.
Wait a sec. Whoa. Amazon have become profitable for the first time ever.
Yeah.
How did they? What? Why did they keep going?
Well, no, because they keep getting money from the stock exchange. Their stock price keeps going up because Wall Street believed in them enough that they would one day turn a profit. They kept going.
Oh, that is playing the long game.
Yeah, it's this interesting argument I heard an economist talk about, which is basically like Wall Street essentially backed a company for the good of all mankind, because they were like, we could see Amazon being so ludicrously useful to the entire world that we will just underwrite it for the best part of a decade.
Let's not missell it, though. They didn't do it for our benefit. They've done it for their benefit.
I think they have not done it entirely for their own benefit, because otherwise they would have ditched the stock a long time ago when it wasn't showing profits.
Yeah. But now they're getting some money, so that's all good.
Not very much, but a little bit. But anyway, yeah, so they are, that's their marketing strategy, that's their monetization strategy, like you are using their infrastructure, which, to be honest, a lot of people would have been using anyway, so...
Yep.
It's kind of weird, but I like it. There is an interesting clause in the contract, apparently, though.
Yeah.
So, there is a hidden clause that, in small print, which states you cannot use the engine to inflict harm on anyone unless a very specific condition is met, which is, this restriction will not apply in the event of the occurrence of a widespread viral infection transmitted via bites or contact with bodily fluids that causes human corpses to reanimate and seek to consume living human flesh, brain, blood, brain, or nerve tissue, and is likely to result in the fall of organized civilization. So if there's a zombie apocalypse, you may use the Amazon Lumberyard engine to harm people.
I love... Okay, how are you going to do that? But that is an amazing clause.
Yeah. I assume it means you can't use it as like a simulator for military stuff.
Okay.
I think that would probably come under that.
I thought I was going to be throwing my laptop at some zombies.
No, but just a very specific bit of your laptop. The bit of your hard drive that's just got the lumberyard.
Yeah. That was my first thought.
But yeah, it's a nice clause. I like it. I think it's cool they're giving this away completely free. And the fact it's already a CryEngine thing is quite... Like, there are a lot of studios who use that, so that's good. The only downside from looking at the engine at the minute is that it doesn't currently support mobile platforms or Mac or Linux, but they have said that's all coming very soon.
So are you going to use it, Kris?
No, we use Unity at work.
Okay.
We are very heavily invested in Unity at the minute.
Sure.
And the thing with Unity is that they have a big ecosystem around it, in the same way that if you buy an iPhone, you've got the App Store. With Unity, there's a thing called the Asset Store, which is just like a bunch of, hey, do you want a waypoint system for your game? Because we've got that. And you just pay someone like £5 and then you have it in your game.
Cool.
It's really handy. It saves a lot of time in development. You can buy mental stuff on there as well. You can buy anything from like, oh, I need some just like temporary assets to put in because I haven't got an artist yet. So here's a bunch of free shit that you can use, all the way up to like, oh, do you want to build a first person shooter? We've kind of built it all and you just snap in the models. It's a very big range of stuff they've got. So that's why we use it. And also a lot of third parties have SDKs that support it. Like they have support for Unity, so that if we want analytics, etc., it's very easy to just snap in with Unity, which is awesome.
Its name also makes it sound a lot more efficient than the lumberyard.
I mean, that's true. That's very true. Anyway, it's time for what we did.
You wouldn't want to take your Amazon Fire into the lumberyard.
Oh, that's a good joke. I approve. Right, what we did. So, Dom, as I spoke about earlier, you've been playing Lego Avengers. I assume you've been playing it with Noah?
Oh, yes.
Who is your son, for people who don't know?
Yes.
Not the biblical figure.
No. His
Not
name...
yet.
Well, this is it. There's plenty of time for the floods to come.
Yep.
And clearly, by playing lots of Lego, both virtual and real, he might be able to build us a boat.
That'd be brilliant. The new biblical story of Noah is on a Lego boat.
That's modernity for you. But yeah, we've been playing Lego Avengers, and it's a great Lego game. I thought it was a bit odd, really, because it didn't review as well as Lego Jurassic World, which was the last film tie-in one.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, they're incredibly similar games. They're both very polished. I mean, at this point, Telltale know what they're doing with their engine and with the systems, and they've got a setup that works, and that's why they keep rolling it around and around. And Lego Avengers does some nice stuff, like it's got all the themes from the movies in, and that makes a nice difference. It's got some speech from the movies as well, which works on some occasions and doesn't work so well in others. But yeah, it's fun. It hops about a bit. You can go on a bunch of levels from some of the other Marvel movies as well as the Avengers ones. And yeah, we really like it, which probably means that much like Jurassic World, it will end up being played for about 200 hours or something ridiculous.
Yes, I do remember you telling me about this.
Yeah. The thing is that still, despite the fact that we've got this and we've got Lego Dimensions as well, we keep going back to Jurassic World. We still ended up playing some of that on Sunday last weekend. And I just can't bring myself to play it.
You're just so sick of it at this point.
Noah, just go and build your boat.
It's here. It's just that. And yes, it's...
Hey, I don't think there's any limit to how much you can enjoy the theme.
Believe me, Lewis, when I tell you that 200 hours of the Jurassic World...
That's probably on YouTube, a version of that. Jurassic Park slowed down or looped 200 hours worth.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Put it to the test.
Go away and listen to 200 hours and come back to us in a few weeks.
How many days is that?
Many.
200 hours.
I can't be asked to work
That's
out.
nearly 10 days.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Oh, good. Well, we'll expect
it's
your
half-term
report
coming up.
We've got nothing else planned.
Yeah.
Oh, good. The only other thing about Lego Avengers really is that I guess there is a bit of a come down from some of the more complicated stuff that you do in Dimensions, like the puzzles that you do using the base, and you're moving your characters on and off it, and you're doing this, that, and the other to solve what's going on. Whereas without that, Lego Avengers is sort of back to the more straightforward bash everything until you find the bit that clicks together with the other bit, and jobs are good in. So that, I think that's the only thing that I could sort of say, maybe that's why it didn't review so well, because it came so soon after Lego Dimensions, and it's more of a classic Lego game than Lego Dimensions was.
On a side note, how is Dimensions?
I really like it. I do really like it. And Noah likes it because I think one of the things that I really like is that at various points an instruction booklet comes up on the telly, and you build the different things. So you build your TARDIS, and you build your DeLorean, and that stuff is really fun, and I really like that. Their integration with all of the different franchises and stuff also works really well. There's some odd ones in there, like The Wizard of Oz is a curious one to choose. I mean, like, Noah doesn't have much sort of knowledge of it.
No.
And frankly, I'm not massively interested in it. I obviously know what it is. So yeah, but everything else, I mean, like Doctor Who's spot on. Obviously this is a Jurassic World. if we hadn't had enough of it already. And then and Back to the Future. The Back to the Future one's awesome. That's probably my favourite one, with the tiny Lego DeLorean and a tiny Lego Marty McFly. Can't beat that. And there's some other stuff in there. I mean, like Ninjago, which I don't have a clue about, and that's okay.
To the point where I feel like I have to interject and say it's Ninjago.
Yeah, I think it's Ninjago, right? That's
okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to be pedantic, but I've never heard of it pronounced as Ninjago.
I mean, on the other hand, that is a much more logical kind of.
It is much more logical. I don't understand Ninjago, but the kids in school are like, "I got this Ninjago figure." It's like, okay. So,
how do you know that they're saying it right?
Because they all say Ninjago. So I'm a sheep. I go with what the majority say.
Right. Well, when you come back with your report on Lego, I'm going to have gone away and checked the pronunciation of Ninjago. But yeah, no, it's we love Lego games in this house, and I may hide the Lego Jurassic World disc at this point.
Well, it's probably for the best, really, isn't it?
For the sake of my sanity, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, beyond Lego Jurassic World driving you insane, though, like, how do you feel just about Lego games in general?
I still think that at the end of the day, I am not their core audience.
Are you sure?
Well, I don't think I am. Whereas,
in a way you are. In that you're the one who's actually paying for it.
Well, that's true. But I mean, I would say from sort of the age of 4 to 14, it's probably going to amongst the best sort of time-consuming gaming that you're going to get. You get bags of content in there. They're mostly of franchises that kids love. And I mean, but then again, saying that, the next one is a new Lego Star Wars based on Force Awakens stuff, and I will be running out to buy that because I'm a massive Star Wars fan. and the Lego games are something that I can play with Noah. So it does play off both, I guess. I'm still not overly tired of the formula. It is a formula, but then people keep playing Dynasty Warriors, and that's been the same as well for a very long time. And if it works, doesn't it?
I used to love Lego games. I think for me, the point that I started to lose sort of contact with them was was when they introduced voices.
Really?
Yeah, because for me, I think that took a lot of the charm away from the game. I loved the Batman and Star Wars games where it was all done through grunts and noises, or through facial expressions or nods of the heads. That for me was the essence of Lego. You know, it felt charming and it felt funny. Whereas when they started to introduce the voices, I thought, no, I'm just not feeling these games anymore.
Right. I do get that, but equally, I think some of the humor works really well, and something like the Lord of the Rings ones, which I think that was the first one to use voices. I'm not sure how well it would have worked without them, especially
that's fair enough.
Especially trying to tell that particular story.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah, if you're old enough to have watched the movies and stuff or read the book, then yeah, okay, you know what's going on. But like Noah's experience of Lord of the Rings is Lego Lord of the Rings. He's never watched the films because he's too little. But he really likes it.
No, that's fair enough.
And I kind of think that a lot of those Lego games are kind of the sanitized versions of stuff that you can show your kids, and get them into franchises that you like, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we've got Lego Harry Potter on the PS3, and going back and playing that occasionally, I miss the voices now.
Oh, right.
So but two sides of the coin, innit?
That's fair, dude.
I don't know. I kind of, in the same way that Lewis feels about Assassin's Creed, I think. They just kind of milked it.
Well, but people keep buying it.
Same with Assassin's Creed, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If people keep buying it...
I'm not going to stop.
No, and that tells them to make more. And
that is basically how our business works.
Yeah.
If people stop buying your beer, you'd probably be like, all right, we need to redress this. But
yeah.
If people keep buying your beer, you're going to keep selling them beer.
That's it. I mean, Oakham's best-selling beer is JHB, and they've been making that since day one, 23 years ago. Mm. So, yeah, and people still like it.
So that's pretty much how it works.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yeah?
Tell us about Unraveled. Or is it Unraveled or Unravel?
No, it's Unraveled.
All right.
I believe. You've made me doubt myself now.
It's got Yanni in it, right?
It has got Yanni, yeah.
Made of
Yanni,
wool in that.
You what, sorry?
Made of wool in that.
He is made of wool. That's pretty much it. Done. That's Unraveled.
Resolved. No, tell us more.
So it's a digital game for, I believe, just the PS4, but I could be wrong. Basically, you play a character called Yanni, who, as you say, is a ball of wool come to life. And it starts off with a cinematic of an old lady in a typical cottage on an autumn's evening or a summer's evening, and she's taken a box of wool up the stairs, and she's surrounded by photos of family and memories and things like that. And the red wool falls out and falls under the table, and that's what becomes Yanni. And it's then just basically a trip into memories and photographs and fonder moments as Yanni to try and fix things and re-experience those memories, if you like. Before anything, the game starts with a title, like a... Fuck's sake, what's wrong with me today? A title sequence with... No, because that's not right. It's not a title sequence. It's basically just a bit of text. comes up and it says, "We've made this game. We've poured our hearts into it, and we love it. We hope you do too. It's a game about loss and love and life and all this lot, which other games similar to it haven't done. They haven't given you that initial step off and that initial understanding of what the game's going to be about. But I think they've been quite clever about it in the sense that you immediately, when the game starts, you immediately connect with it on that level. You're looking for the connections to memories and those things that it mentioned, which makes it a very endearing and very charming game. And immediately I had quite an immediate connection with it from the emotional and sort of sentimental side of things, which like I say, gives it a real sense of meaning from the start. Graphics are lovely. It's just basically a side-scrolling game, just updated for the current generation. So the first level was in a garden, and you liken it to things like Little Big Planet. So you control Yanni, who sits on the ground and walks along the ground, and most of the time that is probably the bottom third of the screen, and then the rest of it is the rest of the environment. And you basically just go along the garden, jumping up twigs. You can lasso your wool onto things and swing. You can also build bridges from certain points in the environment, which you can then bounce off of like a trampoline to get to higher places.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And you can collect different tokens. So they're like little buttons and little, they almost sound like bottle caps and things like that are mementos that then get put in a scrapbook when you go back to the level select screen. And you also, as you go along, in the background, different sort of formations will appear out of light that then gradually, as you get to the right area or you pass the right checkpoint, will form a picture of a memory or one of the photographs that is in the old lady's house, and that then sort of absorbs into Yanni, and that signifies that you've collected that memory. So yeah, it's like I say, it's very, very charming. It's very friendly for everyone. It's there's nothing, no one will find anything offensive about it. Oh. I think later on it gets a bit.
It would kind of be weird if anyone.
I know, but I mean, it's that type of game where it's suitable for absolutely everyone.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways. I mean,
like Little Big Planet.
So yeah, Little Big Planet obviously has the play create elements which aren't in this, but in terms of like just its general appeal,
mood and atmosphere, and also like Little Big Planet, it doesn't lose anything because of that. Like the original Little Big Planet in particular, it was sold as this cute, quirky, cuddly game, but it had the quality behind it, and it used all of that cuteness to its advantage. So this, like I say, it has that charm. It has that same sense of charm and innocence surrounding it as well, which is quite refreshing to play when you've been blowing the shit up out of people and being quite violent in general on video games. So it is quite a refreshing change of pace to go to something that is quite chilled out, quite zen, but like I say, with an actual emotional connection to it as well. I can see it getting a bit darker later on with perhaps metaphors for things like dementia and maybe obviously illness as you get older and things like that. I can see that coming. I don't know whether that is. That's not a spoiler because that's just purely my opinion, but I can see that coming. And like I say, graphics are lovely. There was a bit where I was walking along the ground and you get to like a puddle, and obviously Yanni being wool, puddles aren't very good for your health. So you can push and drag things that you see on the floor. So you might come across a letter block or an apple or a pine cone or something like that. You can push and drag them as you go to aid you either jump off things or reach higher ledges. Or in this instance, it was to fill the puddle up with apples so that I could then jump across the apples to get to the other side. And yeah, just the graphics of that water coming in. Because it feels like, because it's on such a small scale, which I know makes no sense because the technology is still the same, but because it feels like a small piece of wool, it seems like they've really been able to put the money in into designing the environments and getting the graphics spot on, because it does seem quite realistic at times, especially with the lighting and things like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that unravels.
Oh, you made me sad.
It does look amazing.
Yeah,
it looks absolutely beautiful.
And like I say, I think one of the reasons why I connected so quickly to it is because it is so innocent, and it is a massive change of pace from what a lot of people probably played lately. With Destiny and Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto and even Star Wars, it's shooting people up. And this is just quite a slow paced, chilled out.
That's what you want, right? Yeah. Like sometimes an important thing in gaming, an important thing in all forms of media, and this is somewhere I feel gaming has really lagged behind, is just variety. And we are really getting there now.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot, it's weird because we always started out with a lot of variety, and then it kind of all condensed around AAA games.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of spreading back out again, which is great.
Yeah. And there was always, talk about things like Flower and Journey, and Braid and all that sort of thing.
Obviously, like Nintendo has been doing.
Oh yeah.
Like the contrast in the AAA space for decades, but there's not. It does feel like gaming condensed for quite a while, and it's coming back around now to being a very broad church.
Yeah, especially with the PSN and Xbox Live and the downloads, and I think there's just a greater. It's like YouTube and things for musicians. There's just a greater platform for people to be able to get their stuff out there.
Exactly.
And I think people just appreciate the diversity and the chance to experience something a bit fresh.
Yeah, and it's nice to see a publisher like Electronic Arts publishing something like this instead of...
Absolutely.
And, I mean, like, through the year, okay, this could be one of the only indie-esque things that they publish.
Yeah.
But it's a start.
And that's it. Instead of constantly cranking out Need for Speed and FIFA and Madden and everything else.
But also, they've got behind it quite well on the Twitter and social network campaigns. EA have got... I don't even follow them, but other people retweet things where someone's actually got a real life version of Yanni, and they take photos of him out there and stuff. And EA seem to be quite good at raising awareness for it, which I know is in their interest because it's their business. But they could have easily published it and then just gone back to, hey, we got another Need for Speed out. Or
sure. Yeah. It is on Xbox One and PC team.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Just had a look. So that's cool.
And I think it's about, I don't know, 11 quid, 12 quid.
But talking about things that are slightly different, you've also been playing Firewatch, I believe.
I have, yes. Been flashing the cash around this week.
So do you want to have a little bit of a chat about that? Like, it looks very pretty. Like Unravel, although it's not the same aesthetic, they've gone for a very different look here, right?
Yeah, I liken Firewatch more to The Witness.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah, I think you're right there.
In the sense that it's very bright and very colourful, and things like rock. There isn't a texture to a rock. It's a flat colour, and it's just shaded brilliantly so that it looks like rock, but it's a flat colour when you look at it, which still blows my mind. So Firewatch has been on my radar for pretty much since announced a couple of years ago. And
same for me.
And that's because I'm a massive fan of Ollie Moss, who I believe is the art director. He's something.
I think he is. Yeah, he's something very, very core to it. Certainly.
So he's a graphic designer and artist who does loads of posters and things for film companies, and he's even recently done covers for the Harry Potter series of books. He's done new covers for them, and he's got an ingenious way of doing. He'll put a hidden picture within a picture, or he'll make a picture out of a picture. And he did that with the Firewatch posters and things like that, where he made a mountain scene, but within that, because of the shapes of the mountains, you'd be able to see trees and things like that. He's done Star Wars posters and all sorts, and they're absolutely phenomenal. So I'm a big fan. So ever since he tweeted about it, when it was announced, I think it was back in 2014, I was, instantly, I want to play that game because he's in charge of the art style. And And then as it gradually got revealed with the trailers and stuff, I thought, yeah, I definitely still want to be on this. So I've not played a lot. I started it up, and it is gorgeous. It's gorgeous looking, but I didn't expect anything else. And it does have the real essence of his style of posters and things like that, which is really fun. And quite exciting from a visual point of view. So basically, you start off with as a guy who I believe is called Henry. I was trying to think then. And you pick up a backpack and you do some bits and bobs just as like a tutorial. But in between that, you then switch to a screen of text that will say, Julia is coming towards you, you're drunk. And then there was a command, which it took me a while to realize what it was getting me to do, but you basically have to press X. And then I realized that's your dialogue for this story. So it's telling you a text story, where you then choose your responses. And just through text, nothing else, it builds up this backstory of Henry and Julia and their subsequent union, marriage, wanting children, getting a dog, all those sorts of things, which sounds really bizarre, and I wasn't expecting at all, because there's been no sign of it in any of the trailers or anything. But really weirdly, within a very short period of time, connects you to the character. It's done so simply, but so well that you immediately form a bond with the character, and you want to know more about the backstory and what happens to Julia and their relationship. But you might you might input 4 bits of dialogue, and then it will take you back to the game, and you'll be somewhere else. So you start off in the park, and then you go to your tower, and you start working more within the main core of the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that relationship and that background story is going, to see what will be revealed. And I just like the feel of it at the moment. It's early evening, early afternoon, shall I say? So the lighting's
yeah, I mean that's what I've seen. That just the way the light is kind of hitting the environment is gorgeous.
Yeah, lighting's lovely, and I've just done the first sort of mission, if you like, which is you go to your tower, you get accustomed to all of the controls and the environment and things like that, and then someone sets off fireworks within the park, which is obviously a big no-no. So you have to go and find out where these fireworks are coming from and stop them from doing it. And the things that I've noticed are obviously art, and the look is absolutely gorgeous. The voice acting, even already within half hour of gameplay at the maximum, is brilliant and is doing wonders at carrying on that connection that you get from the text bit at the beginning. I think I've laughed a couple of times actually already, and they don't, it's not even a joke or anything. It's just the way they talk to each other and the interactions you have is done so naturally and so brilliantly. So I don't know who does the voices though, otherwise I'd say, but, and the only negative I can see at the moment is that sometimes the controls are a bit clanky. And specifically when you are moving the camera to turn and look around the environment, it starts off slow, but if you carry on holding the stick in whatever direction you want to go, once it gets to about halfway round, it will then just zip to wherever you're looking, which is quite disorientating at times.
That's quite an unusual. Quite an unusual technique.
Yeah, and you can't change the sensitivity down, because I'd just quite like to be able to slowly pan left and right, but like I say, you start off slow, you get to about halfway, and then it just zips all the way around, and it can be a bit frustrating and disorientating, but hopefully it's something that I'll get used to, because I am intrigued about what's going to happen. I can see it being quite creepy and quite intense at times if it plays out the way that I think it might. And I think I don't know how free it is. So maybe, I don't know if anyone else has played it, but I don't know if it's sandbox or if it's guided at the moment, because where I've tried to go, it seems like there's paths. There's quite a set route in that direction. So I can't work out if it's if it's sandbox or not at the moment. I don't think it is. I think, and probably because they wouldn't be able to create a whole national park for you to go and wander around. But so I'll be interested to see if it opens up a bit more as you go through. And the other thing I like as well is that, you have a map and you have a compass, and it will give you a mission. So I think one of the very first things it says to you to do is to go to the cache box 306. So you get your map up, and it took me a while to find cache box 306 on the map because it's not force feeding you the information. It looks like a proper ordnance map, and all you have is a compass. And when you set your next objective, there's no arrows or anything on the screen to tell you which direction it is. You have to either have your compass out completely, all the time, or you have to periodically get it out and then look at your map. So you're doing a bit of, ordnance survey as you go.
No, I like that though. I like games that it's Alien Isolation is the same. Where you've got the motion detector where you have to actually pull it up in game if you want to play it.
But it gives you a sense of exploration, which is great for that type of game because that's what you're doing. You are trying to explore that national park as you go along. Whereas I think if they'd said or had a pointer on the screen, you perhaps miss some of the environment because you'd just be
for sure.
So yeah, I've enjoyed the small bit I've played of it. I'm looking forward to getting on with it. But a lot of people I've heard are really enjoying it, and it's got some phenomenal reviews. And the only thing I've heard negative is that apparently there's a couple of bugs in it, but that's due to be patched. So,
all right, that's good.
So here's hoping.
Yeah, I've heard Tough Cub did the review for TSA, and I think he had game breaking crashes 4 times. We had to restart the whole game.
Oh, really?
But other people didn't have the same issue, so it's a bit variable.
Yeah.
And there's some performance issues as well, I understand, on consoles that they're working through, but.
But on the whole, is their first game. They're an indie studio, and I think it's a bit like.
I think you can't say they haven't gone for something ambitious.
Oh no, absolutely.
They've gone for something very ambitious, very different, really smart, and that's kind of why I am very in favour of it.
Yeah, and with Hello Games making No Man's Sky, I'm now of the opinion where anyone could make anything next. So
yeah. I think that's the thing is just we are tools have now got to the point where if you want to sit down and really work at it, a team of any size is capable of making something that can blow you away.
Yeah.
And I think the key is by doing something different.
And that's having
what
the
Firewatch has done.
Yeah.
That's what Unraveled has done. That's what No Man's Sky is doing. They're doing something, even if those games are. I mean, at least Unravel is very much established in the platformer genre. Firewatch is cribbing a lot from trends in gaming at the minute.
Yeah.
In the kind of, I know it's a derogatory term in a way, but I think it's accurate in the walking simulator genre, which Firewatch kind of is.
Yeah.
It's taking a lot from that trend, but they're still doing something different and unique within that by the Ollie Moss presentation. No Man's Sky is very distinctive, but on the other hand, we've definitely had games set in space before. We've had games with a lot of the same kind of concepts and ideas, but it's the way they're combining them and the way they're presenting them, and that's what is making games different. That's what makes these games interesting and let small teams work on them.
Yeah,
because they are setting what they want to do out very clearly and have a very specific vision, which I think sometimes is missing from broader, bigger games from AAA studios.
Definitely. And I think especially with Campo Santo and the likes of Hello Games and people like that, they're making games that are come across as labours of love. Whereas, and I'm assuming because I don't know anyone on them, and I don't want to speak for them, but you get the impression that things like, again, using the Assassin's Creed model, people that work on Assassin's Creed are just doing it as a job. Whereas people that make Unravel and Firewatch and things, they seem to have a genuine passion for games and art and making something that is enjoyable and different at the same time. Like Ollie Moss, if you follow him on Twitter, he's always doing different prints for games and pop culture in general, and he just has a genuine passion for the media as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what's missing sometimes in some of these larger corporations
Absolutely.
Is the initial passion for making something and taking the risk.
Yeah. No, that's very, very, very true. Is just I think the problem is the realization that, well, not the realization, but the idea that you don't need to spend tens of millions of pounds.
Yeah.
And I think those bigger companies have an issue with that, and that's why I think Unraveled from EA is very, very good, and also Sony's support of indie gaming in general this generation is good, and it seems that realization is really getting through to people finally. Even at Ubisoft, when you're seeing games like Valiant Hearts, like these smaller projects are being well received, and I would imagine are probably percentage-wise making a bigger profit than their AAA games are, because you don't have to sell as much.
No, but also it seems to me like the indie developers are giving more experiences. Like the amount of people that I heard openly admit that Journey, for example, made them cry, or outside of perhaps Naughty Dog, I can't think of any game, any mainstream AAA game that would make people do that.
Absolutely.
Whereas indies just seem to be able to nail it.
Well, Assassin's Creed's made people cry, but for the wrong reasons.
No, I think there are occasionally AAA games that get it right, but
like I say, I think Naughty Dog have done, but
Naughty Dog have done. I think the first
Shenmue, of course.
It was Shenmue, of course. The first Tomb Raider didn't make me cry, but it definitely. I was definitely emotionally invested in Lara and her journey.
Was that more of a technological breakthrough rather than
No, I don't think so. I think it's the way she's genuinely, particularly in the beginning of the game, it becomes less impactful as the game goes on. But early in the game, she's genuinely presented as being in very real danger.
Yeah.
And as far more than how Nathan Drake is typically presented, where he's just like, he's Nathan fucking Drake, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna shoot a bunch of guys, and everything will resolve itself by the end of the game. Whereas Lara, you were like, oh shit, this guy might fucking rape her.
That's not racist. That's sexist.
No,
you thought
it's
just
not.
Because she's a woman, she wouldn't be able to defend herself, therefore she's in more danger. God, Kris. That is shocking.
It was mostly
shockingly chauvinistic of you.
It was mostly the guy pinning her to a wall, implicitly threatening to rape her. I don't think it was quite. I think by the time the game came out, I can't quite remember, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was 100% explicit, but there was a clear threat. Yeah. Oh, this guy's gonna fucking rape her if you don't kill him. Fuck. That's super messed up. And I think also the way it used, which does borrow from Uncharted, but the way it used camera angles to give it that more cinematic feeling kind of made the game feel a lot more intense. And I feel that Uncharted uses them to make the game feel big, generally big and cinematic. Because I think cinematic is often used in poorly as a descriptive term, because by cinematic we just mean it feels expansive, whereas like a very tight shot on someone's face it can be a very cinematic shot, if you see what I mean.
Oh no, I mean it from the latter of those two.
Yeah, and that's
camera
what,
angles are used.
Yeah, and that's what Tomb Raider did very well.
Get emotion out of certain shots.
Yeah, is that it didn't just convey one thing from its choice of camera angles, which is, I would say, probably 95% of the time what Uncharted is doing is in Naughty Dog's choice of camera positions, particularly in cutscenes, is they are mostly making you feel like, oh, this is a huge, like, look at the pretty world we've got, look at the draw distance, all this kind of stuff. Whereas Tomb Raider, very much in the early game at least, kind of brought you in very tight and made you feel like by bringing the camera in tight, by showing Lara in real danger, that's what gave you that emotional connection.
When I mentioned Naughty Dog, by the way, I was thinking more of The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah, The Last of Us it does does more
that
what
made
I'm
me
talking
cry
about.
before the title sequence even came up.
Certainly. But I would say The Last of Us probably does what I'm talking about with the first Tomb Raider game much more, whereas like Uncharted is the complete opposite. Where Uncharted is going for, although they are both going for
all out glory.
Yeah, they're both going for set pieces in terms of gameplay. The Last of Us was just presentationally a very different game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Don't forget Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah. All right, you.
What?
I will say, actually, no. A game I can think of that did genuinely make me cry was Halo Reach. Actually, made me cry, but I was playing it for review, so I might have been just exceptionally tired as well.
But I was drunk.
No, but there's a character death in that game is so in a game that is all the story beats in that game are people dying. Like pretty much all the story beats are people dying in that game. But there is one in particular which I don't want to say. Even now, I don't really want to say which one. But there is there's a death in that game which is so it's in a situation where it's so unexpected, and it is also, in my opinion, probably the best character. And you're like, and that. It didn't make me blub, but it certainly made me well up because I was like, oh shit, because games foreshadow death so frequently, or feel so cliched that this one was in a context where it just generally got to me because it was so unexpected. And it's nice when games can do that. And I will say almost all the other deaths in that game are entirely cliched and ludicrous action movie deaths. Of just like, I'm the big tough grunt guy, I'm gonna sacrifice myself. Fucking people sacrifice themselves in that game constantly. So all people are doing is fucking sacrificing themselves. Whereas there's one death that isn't. It's just a completely meaningless death, and that's what makes it feel impactful, and that's what makes it feel like more of a casualty, almost of a genuine war, is because it's just a completely senseless death. It's not someone doing something noble or anything like that. It's just like, boom, they're dead. And you're like, oh, fuck. I wasn't prepared for this. Anyway, comic books. Let's talk about comic books. Let's change tact.
Lighten the mood.
So the main thing I'm going to talk about is a series called American Alien, which is a Superman series that's not about Superman. It's very explicitly it's about Clark Kent. It's by Max Landis. He's the guy who's writing it. I think he's a different artist on every book, and which for that reason it's releasing every other month. Because if you're switching artists, it just takes longer to produce the books. So Max Landis, people might know him as the screenwriter behind Chronicle. He also last year did American Ultra and Victor Frankenstein and a bunch of other stuff. He's got, I don't know what the TV show is, but he's working on a TV show at the minute because he is also not prolific, but has done a fair amount of stuff on YouTube, from vlogs to a video I love called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, to his own version of The Death of Superman, like a retelling of that in quite a funny way. Almost like if anyone's ever seen Drunk History on Comedy Central, his videos are kind of presented similar to that. Some of them are, in a way. Okay. So, American Alien is fabulous. It's quite, I don't want to say intimate, but they are more like personal stories about Clark Kent growing as a human being, and the realization that he is still a real person, like behind the Superman facade. He is still, despite being an alien, is still quite human. But because he's an alien, has to deal with extra struggles as well, and how they intermingle with normal struggles. So the first one, these are all, I think it's five books. I think, and each one is set at a different point in his life. So far, The first one, I think he's probably like from somewhere between, I would say probably about 8 years old. I think he is something like that.
Right.
And it's kind of set at the point where it is basically set at the point where most kids will be learning how to ride a bike, and he is discovering how to fly.
Okay. Yeah.
And kind of struggling with that, and it's one of the first times you realize it, like from the way it's presented, it's one of the first times he has to generally deal with the fact that he's not human. And although his parents accept it, and it's quite interesting that like the family doctor knows that he's not human and this kind of thing, but it's almost, although it is presented as obviously being from Eastern Kansas, it's almost Victorian in a way, in that it kind of like we don't discuss it type thing, not in a negative way, but it's kind of like it's just that's his thing, and he is not human, but it's fine, and we just move on and kind of just get past it, and it's quite interesting because of that. And as you go on, more people know of his states, but like it's his close friends. It's like the sheriff in town is perhaps not 100% aware, but seems to know that he is not like other kids. But no one is negative towards him because of this. They are, so far, it's all presented as quite positive, which is nice. But what I love about this is just that all of these are really natural things. They are very human struggles, but recontextualized. So you're having this instead of learning to ride a bike. He is like he's learning how to fly and dealing with that, and is in a way is presented in a very similar kind of style, with his dad helping him learn how to fly, rather than learn how to ride a bike, and that's kind of cool, and I really like it, and that's really interesting.
Is he 8 years old throughout the whole thing?
No, so the first one is that, and then the second book he is probably 13, 14, that kind of age. So
I was just going to say, because I wondered if, as you do with, unfortunately, in real life, you know, kids, you tend to be a bit more accepting in that, but when they reach teenage years, perhaps they become bullied and, you know, go through a bit more trauma.
So although I think so it's like people know, but it's like his two closest friends know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's not generally known. But people who are close to him or close to family are aware.
I was just thinking if they're recontextualizing things like that, maybe, you know, the struggles of teenagers be put through.
Absolutely, and although that's not something that was touched on in that issue, that's something that would have been interesting. Certainly, I agree with you there. But in the second one, it's quite fun because it's him like going on his it starts off with Lana Lang, who is a well-known character from the Superman universe. People who watched Smallville will know. Like invites him over to study, and her parents aren't going to be home, and that kind of thing. You know, like typical teenage things.
Yeah.
And also like jealousy because even though he's basically, you know, although he's not yet, he's Superman, he's jealous because his friend has a car and he doesn't have a car. Stuff like that. Just like typical teenage kind of thing. So I guess maybe he's a little bit older. So what's the driving age in the States? Is it like 15, 16?
16, isn't it?
Yeah, it's younger than it is here, definitely.
Yeah.
So he must be like 16. So in a way, so his friend is Skydas, and he's jealous of that, even though like his friend's like, you realize you can fly, right? Like, why are you jealous of me having a car? But I like it because it shows that he still has those typical kind of things. And in that one, it's I guess in a way that is sort of dealing with bullying, but is probably the first hint of him being a hero. In that some people come back to town, like a kid who was kicked out because he was into drugs comes back and basically brings a gang with him and kills some people. And so a part of it is about dealing with death and acceptance, and part of it is his friend, the guy who's got the car, is going like, you can fix this situation. Like, why are you not doing it now? Why have you not gone there immediately? Because he doesn't know that he is bulletproof, but he knows, like, he kind of says something really trivial, like, why aren't you helping the police find them? Like, you found that girl's cat in 2 minutes flat. Like, we know you can find them if you want to. It turns out the reason he doesn't help the police find them is because he goes and finds them by himself and fucks them up. Pretty much is what happens. But it's kind of interesting because he's still young. He's more vulnerable, so he gets shot several times, and while it doesn't kill him, it basically he is very heavily injured by the end of this fight.
Right.
And that's nice. But I liked it. It's
refreshing.
Yeah, it is refreshing.
Because the reason I don't like Superman is because he's this invincible goody two shoes that, you know, that there's no point telling a story about because he can't be killed. And so it's refreshing to hear a story where actually he has those vulnerabilities and he can be injured and you know, has the insecurities of normal people as well. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the same thing for me, is that a lot of the Superman comics and the stuff where you see him in like JLA and things, he does feel a bit one note as a character. But then some of my absolute all-time favorite graphic novels are Superman ones, but they're the ones that mess with the origin, like Red Sun.
Red Sun, yeah.
See, what I really like is All-Star Superman, because it goes
All-Star's good.
I like, because I love All-Star Superman for going the complete other way.
Sure.
Is that the threat in that is that he has a limited time to live because his powers are basically going to kill him. But his powers are going to kill him because they've become so ludicrously powerful. And by doing it kind of does like the 12 Task of Hercules type thing. Goes and does some stuff that seems completely impossible and does it all. And it's kind of awesome because because as I say, it goes in the complete opposite direction to a normal Superman story of like, or how do we make him weaker? This is Superman strong, but how fucking strong is he? And that's kind of cool.
I love Secret Identity. I think that's my all-time favorite Superman one.
Yeah. So the latest one, American Alien, is the third one, which I quite like. It takes a break from kind of the first two are not dark, but the second one is quite dark, but they are kind of quite deep, and they're bringing up genuine questions. The third one has some philosophical questions about the nature of Superman, but is still quite fun. So he's a little bit older, I guess. He's probably 18-ish, 19, something like that, because he's talking about how he wants to become a veterinarian, all this kind of stuff. Basically, this is a lot more fun, though. He wins a trip to the Bahamas. The plane goes down. He just so happens to be right next to a yacht where Bruce Wayne's birthday is getting celebrated, but no one. But this is because if you think Bruce Wayne is about the same age as Clark Kent, and no one has seen Bruce Wayne since he's 12. No one's seen him at all. But basically, it gets explained that because he's rich and because he's famous, people still want to celebrate his birthday in case he shows up. So they do every year. His birthday gets celebrated by like a bunch of other rich people. So like he, and he shows up on this. He just happens to like pull up on this yacht because the plane went down. He came out the ocean, got on the yacht, and everyone's like, "Hey, you're Bruce Wayne. You kind of look like Bruce Wayne. You got the right haircut. You'll do." And so he spends the whole time basically pretending to be Bruce Wayne for a bit because he meets this girl. He's just like, "Fuck it. I know you're Bruce. I know you're not Bruce Wayne, but these people think you're Bruce Wayne. Go with it." And so he does, and it's really fun. And it's just a good time. And then it kind of becomes more philosophical when he's talking to this girl called Minerva, who I suspect is a DC Comics character that I'm just not familiar with. Possibly, it's hinted that she might be an alien. I'm not quite sure. So,
I don't know.
But anyway. It all kind of comes to a head when Deathstroke has been sent to this yacht to kill Bruce Wayne, so he poisons Clark Kent with like a nerve toxin, and Clark Kent kind of gets, instead of getting dying as a human would, he basically just ends up feeling very drunk. And Deathstroke's like, why the fuck aren't you dead? That nerve toxin should have killed you. Tries to stab him, sword just bends in half, and Clark Kent reaches out and flicks him in the head, and he goes flying off the yacht. It's great. And like I said, that issue is just fun. It's fun. But the bit that is kind of serious, and these are, I think the point of this series is to explore why he becomes Superman. And in this one, because he wants to become a vet, he talks about he wants to care for animals because animals aren't capable of looking after themselves. And it's kind of talked about in a way of that's why he becomes Superman. If you see what I mean, like because he wants to take care of humans because humans aren't capable of taking care of themselves against the threats he faces as Superman, you know, like, because he just wants to help. And it's nice, but it's also this really interesting view of basically, we are.
It's very simplistic.
But
I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, but I also mean like when you think about Superman's power level, etc., compared to humans, we are effectively like just cattle next to him, you know, we are animals. And in the same way, like you have a herd of cattle and one farmer looking after it, or a shepherd and sheep. It's a very similar metaphor. And it's interesting, but depressing and at the same time, because you don't want to think of humanity in that way. You don't want to think of Superman thinking of humanity that way. But also I like it because he's kind of going, I want to help these animals because they can't help themselves. And it kind of comes to the realization at the end of it that maybe he should be helping humanity rather than becoming a vet and just helping animals. Right. But yeah, I'm loving that series so far. It's great. I really enjoy it. And it's nice to see Superman, like the journey to becoming Superman, not in kind of the Smallville way where it's quite laboured, where it's just picking up on certain key points in his life, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes next. The other series I'd like to really quickly talk about is the new run of Invincible Iron Man. Go buy it. It's a lot of fun. It's Tony Stark with like a super sassy AI who will not take his shit. It's really good fun. He fights like the fourth issue, I think. He basically fights cybernetic ninjas. He's got a new suit of armor that can reconfigure itself, so he reconfigures himself into a samurai. It's just a fuckload of fun. Like it's just really cool and really enjoyable. He teams up with like Doctor Doom, who's become good. It's all fucking awesome. At one point, he high fives Doctor Strange because they are awesome facial hair bros. Like that's what he actually says in the comic. And then later, like Strange comes to save him. And he's like, "Oh, why did you come?" I was like, "Because we're awesome facial hair bros." And he leaves, and Tony Stark just goes, "I could not be more happy." Something like that.
Right.
It's great, and like it's really enjoyable. And in a similar to American Alien, it's also got like a side story where it is dealing with the more personal side of Stark and him getting into like an actual meaningful relationship with another woman who he actually considers to be better than him, but she is just like, she's a scientist, but she is just like quite down to earth and normal, and it's interesting some of the conversations he has, like where he feels that he can't tell other people his problems because they're like, yeah, boo-hoo, rich boy, it's fucking terrible for you, isn't it? So I quite like it. Like I'm liking those two sides of it, in that it's just having fun, fucking ridiculous battles where he fights ninjas and stuff. And his armor has got to the point where it is just like ludicrously powerful, but that's fun, you know. It's good. But on the other side, kind of having this quite showing Tony Stark as a fragile human who has genuine issues and dealing with what it's like as a superhero to face death. And there's a great bit where he talks about he can't talk to other superheroes. It's interesting saying superheroes can't talk to other superheroes about oh yeah, I nearly got killed today, because someone's always got a worse story than you. Oh yeah, I nearly got killed today. And it's yeah, then then they say to you, oh boohoo, I nearly got eaten by Galactus today. Blah blah blah. I got killed and resurrected as my own child. As an actual line in that comic book. But I really like that idea of it. And it's interesting that these are two separate series, Iron Man and American Alien are very separate, but just dealing with their stars on a more human level at points, which is quite fun. Awesome. I just enjoying both of them a lot at the minute, and I kind of was off comics for a little bit, and I'm back in now, back invested, getting back on top of stuff. Got a little bit sick of what Marvel and DC were doing with events, but they kind of are out of the event cycle at the minute, which is why I tend to be interested in. I'll get back into the event cycle and I'll get bored again. Right, Mr. Dom, did you want to tell us quite quickly about Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4?
It's great. Is that quick enough?
You can expand more than that.
Okay.
Facebook keeps telling me it's the end to the story or something.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think for fans,
the end to the game story, the end to just all Naruto stories.
The end to the main Naruto Shippūden.
That's in a game?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because the series is finished.
All right.
And this basically Ultimate Ninja Storm, the numbered ones, have followed the narrative of the anime through from episode 1 all the way to 400 and whatever it finished on. So this is the conclusion. This is the end of it. And obviously they've used the PS4, so the graphics are better than they've ever been before. They've refined the gameplay. I mean, fundamentally, it's still the same game, which, the first one must have been about 7 years ago, I guess now, on PS3. And they've refined the gameplay. Roster's bigger. It's got probably nearly every one of the characters that you'd want out of the Naruto series in there. And yeah, I think if you're a fan of Naruto, you're going to get a massive kick out of it, because it's just over the top fun. Fighting is really accessible, but there's enough depth in there. It does look amazing. The cell shading just completely looks like you're playing the anime. And you've got all of the authentic voice work. It's got English and Japanese, depending on whichever you prefer. And yeah, the thing is that in preparation for reviewing 4, I'd gone back and started playing 2 again. And then obviously I've gone through 4 to review it, and now I've gone back to finish off 2. So I'm playing on my PS3 a lot. And then I haven't got 3 at the moment, so I'm going to have to rebuy that. And then I've got Ninja Storm, Ultimate Ninja Storm Revolution, which is like side stories kind of thing. So at the moment, it feels like I might be playing Naruto for about the next 2 months, really, because I've got back into it massively. And then when I'm going to bed, I'm rewatching the anime as well. So yeah, if you're a fan of Naruto, definitely buy it. If you're a fighting game fan, maybe wait till it's on sale, because it does look amazing, and it is a laugh.
How does the story elements work, given it's a fighting game?
Well, what they've done is basically, because Naruto is in essence a series of fights. That's what the anime boils down to, is loads of battles. So it's perfectly set up to be a fighting game, because you get a bit of the narrative, and some of it is played out in engine, which looks great, and some of it's played out with still images from the anime, which isn't as good. It's a shame that they didn't do all of it in engine, but I guess you can't have absolutely everything. But yeah, so it'll play you a bit of the narrative. Then there'll be an encounter, and you'll have the battle, or maybe 3 in a row or whatever, and then you'll have done that chapter, and then you can move on to the next. And the story section of the game, you've got two branching storylines, which is Naruto's story and Sasuke's story, and you trundle through them, and then they meet back up at the end. And I won't tell you the end in case people haven't watched it or played the game.
Well, given I know that there is stuff after Shippūden, I assume it doesn't end terribly.
No, I mean, and there's you do have the new Boruto, which I haven't watched any of that yet.
The only thing I've seen is like I haven't seen it, but it keeps getting advertised to me on Facebook. The thing where they go into like an alternate universe and he has children or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
No, there's one thing where he goes into alternate universe and one thing where he has children, I think.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Weird. No, I don't know. I kind of have like the fact that people actually age in Naruto though. That's
yes. Yeah. And it's gone on for long enough.
Yeah. It's just one of the things I've found is in a lot of those kind of series, people grow as characters but don't actually age, whereas this has both, which is nice.
Yeah.
Like, they actually grow up from being young teenagers to being adults.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, and saying that, I mean, talking about emotional impact in games, playing through number 2, and I mean, it's at the beginning of the Naruto series, so I think a lot of people would have got to it. But one of his masters, Jiraiya, gets killed, and I was massively moved by that. Well, I was. So yeah. So I'm obviously a child.
All right, I guess it's probably question time now. Question time. So a quick look.
This is where you go. We have no questions.
No, we do. So Kevling says, I'm at work stew in a Thai restaurant. Please entertain me. And I feel the problem there is he's fundamentally misunderstood the podcast format. In that we record it now, and he listens to it later.
Maybe he'll go out for another Thai meal.
Maybe he's at his Thai meal when his podcast released on Monday.
If he's timed that's genius.
Okay. So what can we entertain him with?
I don't know.
A song.
Sing a song then, Lewis.
Not me. I came up with the idea. Someone else has to do it.
Sing a song, a sixpence, pocket full of rye.
Okay, it was a bad idea. I get the idea.
That's the song you went with?
Yeah. When the pie was When the pie was ready, the birds began to sing.
Surely it's when the tie was ready, for a start.
Oh, yeah. When the tie was ready, the birds began to sing. 4 and 20. Well, I can't remember how that song ends.
4 and 20 is going to cost a lot more than that as well in modern exchange rates. That'll have entertained him.
Very dainty.
All the way through his
it
Thai
works.
practice.
It works. What a very dainty dish to set before Kevling. Lovely.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
All comes together.
That's as if the composer of that song knew.
Germanus also says, has anyone of you played Killer 7? You definitely should. One of the craziest games ever. Kojima meets David Lynch.
I've heard about it. I've never played it.
I have a feeling that I own it and haven't played it. Because it's by Grasshopper. So who are mental. And I think I've played No More Heroes.
That is also mental.
Which is mental and amazing. So if Killer 7 is the same level of awesome and amazing, then I should play it. I think I own it. So maybe I will. Thanks, Jamanos.
Excellent. Right. That's all the questions. We had 2. There you go.
Awesome.
Done.
We didn't mention why Kev wasn't here.
He didn't tell us. He's just not here.
He just said, bailing. Sorry.
Yeah, we didn't mention why you were here last week, but I forgot.
That's all right. I'll ask questions.
You went to a thing.
I went to see Hosier.
Oh, was it nice?
Oh.
They were amazing.
I didn't know they were still a band.
What do you mean?
Well,
not the Hoosiers.
Oh.
Hosier.
What's Hosier? Wait, what
Take me to church, man.
Oh, that guy. Oh, okay.
Take me to church. That one.
To be fair, that is an easy mistake to make.
Yes,
no, but he was phenomenal. You just don't bother. You follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You just don't bother interacting with me or paying any attention to anything I do or say.
I follow a lot of people on Twitter. It's hard to keep track of all of you.
I put videos up and everything.
I didn't actually see your I don't know if I follow you on Instagram.
You should do, because I saw your picture about your hair.
Yeah, but that means you follow me.
Yeah, but then I text you. I not text you. I commented on your photo.
How is the blonde hair, or have you changed the colour now?
It's still blonde.
Okay. Is it going well?
I mean, yes, I suppose.
Have you had admiring looks?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention.
And he lives in Brighton. People won't bat an eyelid.
It's not really. Yeah, it's not really different enough.
Yeah. They probably look at him for being normal.
Yes. You need to set the hair on fire.
Actually, no. The only one that I do know is, I think it was a day after I did it, and there was a kid in the street who was just like amazed by my hair. It's not even that unusual, really. It's just very blonde.
Yeah.
They just seemed absolutely fascinated by it. And as I walked past them, and they just literally watched me all the way as I walked past them with their mouth open, and I was just like, "All right, fair enough." So it's not that weird, really.
Maybe they thought you were 90s Eminem.
They might have done. That's why they might have just been amazed.
Yeah, he's come back in time.
Yeah, forwards in time.
And you turned around and went, "I am the way I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am?"
I'm going home to clean out my closet.
My boss did ask me why I had blonde hair, which is kind of an odd thing, because like
why have you got blonde hair?
The thing was, it wasn't like it wasn't in at the start of the day. It was like mid-afternoon. I'd been in the office for hours.
Taken the whole morning to build up the courage. Kris, I've been thinking about this question. Why have you got blonde hair?
To which my response was obviously, "Oh shit, have I?" And then because
not again.
And then
that's what people say when I refuse them service in the pub, and they go, "You're bald. You're short and bald." I go, "Oh my god, where'd my hair go?"
Your powers of observation.
And then I say, goodbye.
They did ask me again, and I was just like, well, because I put chemicals in it. Which is, that's, if you want a very literal reason.
How you don't manage to get punched on a daily basis is beyond me.
Well, he did then clarify it. Is like, why did you dye your hair blonde? And I was like, I see. Well, because I told him the same reason that he's got long hair, because I wanted to. Like, that's
fair,
dude. Why have you grown your hair out for the last year and a half? He went, because I wanted to. I was like, well, that's why. That's why does anyone do anything with their hair? Mostly because they want to. I would imagine that's 95%.
That's what Bewitched fought for.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Bewitched, Billy Piper.
Yeah, that was Billy Piper. I was thinking when the Bewitched had odd hair though as well. I think. Did they? Maybe. I don't know. Bewitched mostly sang about
I've done enough damage
trees.
by talking about Bewitched and Billy Piper. I think we should just end the podcast.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the podcast. If you'd like to get previous episodes, you can go to TheSixthAxis.com where you can find content, etc. You go to YouTube, you can go to Stitcher, you can go to places, internet, iTunes, I don't know. Just go. I don't know, do it. It's cool. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at podcast@TheSixthAxis.com. You can tweet us at TSA Podcast. You can tweet me at HalPro. It's HALB Pro. You can get Lewis at Lewis Gaston. Do it again. You can get Lewis at Lewis Gaston. You can get Dom at Dominic Layton. Is it Dominic Layton?
No, Dom Layton.
Dom Layton, there you are. Or just send out a carrier pigeon. Messenger pigeon. That's what I mean. Carrier pigeons are extinct. Send out a messenger pigeon. Might get here. Might
as
not.
long as it doesn't shit on my shoulder.
Yeah.
It's fine.
If we're meant to get the message, we will. The fates will align. They won't. That's just something I said. Right. That's going to do it though for this week's episode of the podcast. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 The Sixth Axis Podcast.